Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Lan. Today we're going to do some learning. Who's ready to learn? So today I have a story that I'm going to read to you, and the story is called It's Mine by Leo Leone. This is the same author that wrote the story A Color of His Own, the book I read to you a couple weeks ago. And before we start reading the story, I want to go over a few vocabulary words with you. So words that I want you to listen for in the story. And when you hear them, maybe give a thumbs up and let me know that you heard them. Okay, the first word is quarreled. Does anyone know what this word means? Quarreled? Okay. Well, quarreled means to have an argument, to have a disagreement. So you're going to hear this word in the story. The next word, boys and girls, is bickering. Bickering. This also means to have a disagreement, to argue. So it seems like in the story there's going to be a lot of arguing. So we're going to have to keep an eye out for that. The next word in the story is defiantly. Defiantly. What do you think that means? Okay, well, to be defiant means to not listen. If you're being defiant, you're not listening. So we're going to look for that word in the story too. The next word is huddled. Huddled. If you're huddled together, what do you think? Okay, so if you're huddled together, you're crowding together, you're close together. Like for instance, the football players, right? When they're out in the field, they huddle together to tell the plays. So we're gonna look for this word too. And the last word is subsided. Subsided. If you're using this word that relates to water, which we are in this story, it means to go down or to lower back to normal. So we're gonna look for this word too. So when you hear one of our vocabulary words in the story, you're gonna give a thumbs up, okay? This story is also a fiction story. Remember, we've talked about fiction and nonfiction. A fiction story is something not real, it's make-believe, right? If we're reading a nonfiction story, that's true, real facts. So this story is gonna be fiction. I also want you to pay attention in the story for characters, setting, and the main idea. The characters are the people, right, or animals that the story is about. In fiction stories, characters can be animals because in fiction stories, animals can talk in the story. So you might see that in this story. Well, you definitely will see that in this story because this story is about animals. Setting. Remember, we've talked about setting. Setting is what? Yes, where the story takes place. Okay, so we're gonna look, where does the story take place? And the main idea, what is the story about? All right, well, let's get started. It's Mine by Leo Leone. In the middle of Rainbow Pond, there was a small island. Smooth pebbles lined its beaches, and it was covered with ferns and leafy weeds. On the island, there lived 3 quarrelsome frogs named Milton, Rupert, and Lydia. They quarreled and quibbled from dusk till dawn. So here we are introduced to the characters. The story is about these 3 frogs, and it seems like they're always fighting, right? They're quarrelsome frogs. Do you remember their names? Milton, Rupert, Lydia. Those are the characters of the story. Stay out of the pond, yelled Milton. The water is mine. I'm also seeing, where is the setting of the story? Where is the story taking place? Yes, it looks like it's outside in a pond. That's the setting. Get off the island, shouted Rupert. The earth is mine. They seem like they're fighting about everything. The air is is mine, screamed Lydia as she leaped to catch a butterfly, and so it went. So they were always fighting about something, and that's why the story is called It's Mine, because all of the frogs were constantly saying, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. One day, a large toad appeared before them. I live on the other side of the island, he said, but I can hear you shouting, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine, all day long. There is no peace because of your endless bickering. Right? They're always fighting. The toad was saying, stop fighting. You're always fighting. You can't go on like this, said the toad. And with that, the toad slowly turned around and hopped through the woods. So the toad was not happy because he said, all I hear is you constantly fighting. You can't go on like this. But no sooner that the toad had left, Milton ran off with a large worm, and the others hopped after him. Worms are for everyone, they said, but Milton defiantly said, no, this one's mine. Defiantly. He was not listening to the toad's advice to try to get along, was he? No sooner that the toad left, he continued to fight again and say, it's mine, it's mine. That is not very peaceful. Suddenly the sky darkened and a rumble of distant thunder circled the island. Rain filled the air and the water turned to mud. The island grew smaller and smaller as it swallowed up by the rising flood, and all of a sudden the frogs were scared. Let's see what's going to happen. Desperately, they clung to a few slippery stones that still rose above the wild, dark water. But soon, these too began to disappear. So they were hanging on for dear life. This big rainstorm came, and they were scared. What do you think they're going to do? I hope they decide to work together to help each other. There was only one rock left, and there was frogs huddled, so they were close together, trembling from cold and fright. But they felt better now that they were together. They were sharing the same fears and hopes. And little by little, the flood subsided. Remember, so the water started to go down. The rain fell gently and then stopped altogether. So it looks like they finally decided to work together, which is good. But look, the large rock that had saved them was no rock at all. It was really what? It was the toad. They were hanging on the toad. You saved us, shouted the frogs when they recognized the toad, and their faces looked happy. The next morning, the water had cleared. Sun rays chased silver minnows on the sandy bottom of the pond. Joyfully, the frogs jumped in, and side by side, they swam all around the island. Oh, it looks now that they're getting along and playing nicely together. Together, they leaped after the swarms of butterflies that filled the air. Look at their faces. They look happier now that they're sharing and getting along and being friends. And later, when they rested in the weeds, they felt happy in a way they had never felt before. Isn't it peaceful, said Milton. Isn't it beautiful, said Rupert. And do you know what else, said Lydia? What, said the others. It's ours. So now they weren't saying it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. They were saying it's ours. The end. Wow, what a good story and what a good lesson, right? The frogs really learned to work together and to be a team. That's a great lesson to be learned. So boys and girls, what I want you to do for your assignment, okay, at home, I want you to, on your paper, do the characters. You can set it up just like mine. You can make the boxes. You can draw a picture. Okay, and if you're a STAR student, you're going to write a sentence or two about the characters. Remember the characters in the story, right? The main characters were the three frogs. Their names were Lydia, Rupert, and Milton. And do you remember who else was a character in the story? Do you remember? Let me see. The toad was a character. The setting of the story. You can draw a picture, right? The setting took place where? Where were they? right? They were at Rainbow Pond. That was the setting of the story. And what was the main idea of the story? You're right. In the beginning, the three frogs were quarrelsome. You could even use those vocabulary words. And they were fighting all of the time. But then remember, a rainstorm came and they learned to work together and to be a team. And in the end, they learned a lesson that working together and being friends was better than fighting and saying, it's mine. Thanks, boys and girls. I enjoyed learning with you today and reading this story and working on our comprehension. Till next time, see you later.